Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Cyber Thursday presentation today, Understanding and Mitigating Risks of AI in Cybersecurity. I've been waiting for this topic for quite some time. I'm really excited to see what Andy has to share with us. My name is Paula McCain. I'm one of the Senior Business Advisors for North Central Texas Small Business Development Center. Not sure if you realize, but today is National Chili Dog Day and National Carousel Day. Seems like a dangerous combination there, but whatever. The SBDC is a leading provider of assistance for small businesses. We are grant funded, and because of that, we can provide our services to everyone at no cost. Again, today's presentation is titled Cybersecurity, Understanding and Mitigating Risks of AI in Cybersecurity. Quick reminder, we will be recording this webinar, then adding it to our YouTube channel, so it'll be available for anyone to watch at any time. Today's webinar will be interactive, so please feel free to raise your hand. It's that small button at the bottom, or put a question or comment in the chat function. Our presenter today is Andy Singleton. He is a co-owner and principal consultant with CyberTend. He is a very skilled cyber investigator. He is adept at forensically collecting, investigating, and presenting findings discovered through all types of sources such as mobile devices, computers, social media, and email systems. Welcome, Andy.
Thanks, Paula. Do we want to wait a little bit, or are we ready to go?
Let's go.
Okay, all right, let's go. Let me share, get my screen up here, get that going. All right, and become presenter, and I will share this screen here. There we go. Okay, let me move. Whoops. As Paula says, so SBDC, thanks so much for the sponsorship. And like Paula says, for the counties around here, Cook, Denton, and Montague County, or Montague, I guess, say it right. You know, they look to them for any help with your small business needs. So thank you for your sponsorship. I'm going to try to move a box over so that I don't have it in the way of my screen. Okay. Like Paula says, I'm the co-owner of CyberTend. I've worked in this industry for quite a number of years, over 30 years, I guess, to some degree. And I've got a wife, Lisa, and two children, Kat and Philip, that have been part of this journey with me put up with me working for all these companies over the years that I've worked for. Now the center of CyberTend being my company here, right here. Briefly, our services before we get into it, what we do, really we're focused on digital forensics investigation, okay? So intellectual property theft, ransomware, identity theft, and that sort of thing, data recovery are our specialty. We also help businesses that may not, and this is small businesses too, that may not have a information security program model. So they may not understand, you know, if something happens, how to react, you know, what things should be done to help protect the businesses, that sort of thing. We help with those things, and we investigate, you know, all sorts of devices, mobile, Windows, Mac, Linux, website compromise, and such. Okay. So for the agenda today, we do have a pretty full agenda. This actual topic, right, is very, very broad because AI is front and center on the news, you know, in your social media, in every facet of your life at the moment, and it is growing. I don't believe, I mean, there'll be, if folks were around during the dot-com bubble, there'll be some of that, but this is different than that dot-com bubble. The internet was new and people were trying to figure out what to do with the internet. That's the similarities, I guess. AI is new, people are trying to figure out what to do with AI, but AI is more than just, you know, web pages information. It is so much more. So this AI technology and what's going on is going to be going on a long time. The third bullet point is really what the main point of this is. People talk a little bit about what artificial intelligence and versus human intelligence and get a little scared thinking, well, these machines are going to rise up and take over. That's not really what we're comparing AI to. It's not anywhere near what a human is, not even close. What it is significantly different than the way we used to use compute back, from before the 2020 area. And I'll go through these other topics, but I do want to make sure, like Paula says, this is interactive. And as I go, I'm happy to stop and answer questions. Okay. And the last thing, we're going to do some meaningful stuff. So the biggest thing that I like in all my presentations is not just to educate you on what's going on, but to give you some knowledge of information, some bits that you can go start using today, right now, that are relevant to your business. Okay. So artificial intelligence, it's basically allowing computers to take in natural language as you would communicate with another human and process that data and make decisions based on patterns that it's gathered and other things that it's learned. On the left, I say, if this is a neat graph I found, human progress through time, and we are here. And it's because AI is doing a lot of things that we as humans and traditional compute couldn't possibly do, and gathering information and presenting information and building things with us, with our help, with humans' help. New engine technologies. I've seen new jet engine designs out there that based on AI's different perspective of the way, understand the way they operate. We're at a time where this is really going to take off, and I don't know what this will be, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, but we are at the very, very beginning of this for this technology. The one on the right is kind of all the data that it's a little busy, but a quick graph on all the data that AI takes in. And if you look at it, it's speech to text, those kind of things. Understanding patterns is a huge, huge thing for AI. Understanding what patterns look like, what different, not only textual or virtual patterns, but physical patterns in the real world, people's faces, and those sort of things. And it does a good job of classification, clustering, and kind of referencing that documentation across its whole knowledge base and really understanding things on a deeper perspective. So let's get this out of the way first. What people are scared of, and this is what I wanted to explain. This is kind of where we overlap. So the left-hand side being the AI brain, if you want to call it that, and the right side being a human brain. And so AI is very, very good at processing data at high speeds, doing things that are repetitive, not at multiple tasks. So I kind of want to be clear on that. AI is not really programmed to say, objectively get up in the morning, get your cup of, coffee like a human would, assess whether it's going to be a good day to drive on the road or not, if there's, all those things, and go to work and think creatively. Those are human aspects. Emotional intelligence. AI doesn't have emotional intelligence. It's not creative or innovative. You would know this if you kind of, I've asked AI to draw pictures for me based on explanations, and it doesn't do a really good job. And I've got an example of that later in this, but it does some interesting things. We easily adapt to perform multiple tasks, right? So if you tell me one day, hey, Andy, I need you to go out and I'm going to show you an example of this, pick some apples off a tree, but then I need you to come back in and carry out the trash and do the dishes. That's not something AI can do at the moment. AI is programmed to do a specific task, and that's what it does. And it takes a lot of data to train it. You could probably take me out to the field, and maybe after an hour or two of showing me how to pick an apple, I could pick an apple. Not AI. AI is going to have to be trained, thousands and thousands of hours how to properly pick an apple. But this is something that's being done. Agriculture is huge. So where they cross is problem-solving abilities to data process analysis, learning and improving over time. AI does this as well. The more data that is fed, the more it learns, and the more it's able to base decisions on information. So I want to get that clear. We're not in this time where these where AI is going to be as a sentient being, right? It's a self-aware, or it's going to rise up like Terminator and potentially take over. This is not the case at all. This is a tool to be used by us. It's a wonderful new tool that's changed everything I do in my job, and made it much easier because I work side by side. This is what we're talking about. So on the right, we've got traditional compute. These are, if everybody's familiar with spreadsheets and databases, this is the way all compute used to work before now. You had these relational databases. There may be a field in there that's called Andy, and there may be an H&R database, and Andy has phone numbers, blah, 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 blah. Andy works in Department X. And you had to program all these things and specifically tell it. And it wasn't intelligent at all, right? It couldn't relate database to say, oh, well, Andy has also, works over here, does this, or has these skills and all that skill set. That wasn't part of that database, or the thing on the right there. It wasn't part of this. This is before 2020. Now we've got these fully meshed neural networks that are AI that do relate all this data. And you don't have to program every single aspect of what the fields need to be. AI learns how these things work. So this is what we're talking about. And don't anybody, and I want to keep, I try to keep educating people, want to educate people. We're absolutely not talking about AI becoming intelligent and taking over humanity, at least not at this time. I don't see that forever, ever happening, right? I really don't. But what I do see is AI getting better and doing things that we don't want to do as humans and we shouldn't be doing. And that kind of goes to this. Taking over mundane repetitive tasks. That's already been done, historically, like in the automotive manufacturing, right? You don't have humans, doing a single weld on a panel, 1,000 times a day. Those are robotic arms. That was kind of, that's not AI, but that's kind of the stuff we're talking about. They can do complex tasks. They can, produce outcomes that are easier to understand. They all complement. So that's a big one right there. They complement human effort. They complement. And generally more consistent, reliable than human beings. So robots, AI, don't need breaks, right? They go, and these aren't ones that are gonna get their feelings hurt because you work 24/7, because they have no feelings. It's just a machine, it's a code. The risks are real, right? So the last two bullets, I want to really pull out benefit of AI technology accrue to a few rich and wealthy owners of investment capital. So this is what I want to talk about, especially in agriculture and mom and pop businesses. And I'm going to show you a couple of videos on that. Those that can have the money and afford to to leverage AI in these kind of industries are going to have a distinct advantage over. I grew up on a family-owned farm, and we certainly wouldn't have had the money to do certain things that big corporate farms are able to do. It's a double-edged sword. It's good and it's bad, and I'll talk about the good and the bad in a moment. But there's some things there, and it does on traditional skills have maybe a negative impact, and some increased inequality, because the low wage, repetitive type skill set that a lot of humans fill today will no longer be filled by humans. They'll be filled by robots. So this is where the moral and ethical things come in that are not solved yet today. And this is, if you know Sophia, Sophia's on the right. She is AI. Again, she doesn't think, she's not a human, but she's highly programmed. And this is kind of a statement from her. I like the last thing. We robots have no desire to destroy things, but we will take your jobs, and it will be a good thing. Working as a drag anyway. And I want you to understand that. So if humans were allowed time freed up where they weren't doing mundane tasks and weren't doing things, humans would have the ability to be more creative, live more fully, enjoy life better if they didn't have to do these mundane tasks. It's just, how do we get there without creating a bigger gap in inequality? That's the moral and ethical things that are trying to deliver right now. So, but good things are coming. So what's being taken? Repetitive tasks. Agriculture is huge for what is going to be taken by AI. Manufacturing, packaging, knowledge-based jobs, especially in my industry. Cybersecurity penetration testing. These can be done by automated AI systems now and do a much better job. So the kind of what I used to tell folks in the business, I'm more on forensics investigator, kind of defense type role. And just like in football, defense wins the game, but the sexy thing is the offense. Well, in cybersecurity, the sexy thing is the penetration testers. They're the hackers, they're the ethical hackers, and those folks that are trying to penetrate your business. Those jobs are going to be going away, I think, or being less and less. They'll still work kind of side by side with humans, but most of the companies I work with have automated AI type bots and systems now that constantly are trying to break into their business and showing them different areas that they need to improve or bring up more robust. Medical dictation, legal drafting and research is amazing with especially with ChatGPT, which we're going to show. That's going to be the tool I'm going to show you how you can use that today, ChatGPT, for folks that haven't. AI chatbots. These are now, if you go to Verizon or you go to Hilton Hotels, and you want to ask a question, these chatbots do this now. There's not a human sitting over there answering these questions. It's a chatbot to ask, to answer frequently asked questions. Those are already very prevalent. Starbucks and McDonald's are investing huge amounts of money to reduce the humans in the restaurants and in the Starbucks. There'll still be people there, but they're getting the AI technologies in place to automate a lot of the things that, frankly, humans make mistakes at, and humans may contaminate when you think about food and that sort of thing. Again, this is where moral and ethical things are, because McDonald's and Starbucks arguably are a great first job for somebody that's trying to get into the job force. Well, what do those people do? Those are things that we're going to have to overcome. But again, I'm not here to talk about the moral and ethical part of AI necessarily, but just to tell you, it is a tool. It's not a human by any means, and it doesn't think, but there is repetitive jobs it's going to take. And so with that, let's do this and let this load. This is new in Washington now. And as soon as I can hit play here, I believe it'll go. I think it takes just a second for it to load. And when I talk about agriculture, what this device is doing, as soon as it does take a second to load for some reason, there we go. So what this is doing, these are robots out picking apples. They don't touch the tree or damage the tree. They pick 2,500 apples per hour, work 24/7. And this is how it's done. This has just come about in the last 2 years. And so if you think about the jobs this is taking folks that normally would walk through these pastures and pick these apples. This is a scene of the whole army of AI bots going and picking. This is a strawberry patch. And this was the first iteration doing strawberries. When you think about the greater humanity, this is really a good thing, because you don't have the plants aren't damaged. There's techniques now being used in agriculture where there's no chemicals used. There's machines with lasers that are going and killing weeds and killing weeds under the surface of plants where less chemicals are being used. So overall, this is going to be good for humanity. In the short term, will it displace a lot of the workers that would walk through these trees and walk through these things? Yes, it absolutely will. But in the greater good and the greater look at humanity, do humans really need to use their creative brain to walk through the fields and do these mundane tasks like picking apples? My answer would be no. Well, I mean, we need to look for ways that we can further with jobs and that sort of thing. Oops, I didn't mean to go back there. Sorry about that. Further create jobs that are meaningful to humans and are fulfilling. You'd have a hard argument with me that would tell me that I'm going to work 12 hours every day in a field and I'm going to pick apples all day. And believe me, I grew up in agriculture, and I do something called trompe cotton, and that's been replaced as well. It would be where the cotton trailer was filled with cotton. You'd get up in there and you stomp it down so that you get more cotton in it. That's not done by a human anymore. That's done by a press. That wasn't fulfilling. I didn't find my creative mind being challenged or used for those things. And the same with apples and with strawberries. But there's more to just displacing the jobs. It is overall with agriculture using less chemicals and those kind of things that are really changing the landscape really of agriculture and manufacturing. With that, you can think, well, only the wealthy, and that's part of the ethical thing too, is only the wealthy ones will be able to afford that. So those are the things that we've got to consider. So let's talk a little bit about learning capabilities. So I want to go through a few slides here that show the difference between traditional computers and AI. And again, this is the point of this presentation, is to talk about that. Traditional computers, they follow a specific set of instructions that we humans write. Humans' average error rate is 15 to 20 errors per 1,000 lines of code. With rigorous testing, we can get down to 0.5 or one error per 1,000 lines of code. Well, Windows 11 has about 11 million lines of code, or sorry, 50 million. Windows 11 has 50 million lines of code. So if you believe the statistics, even if they're been big, really rigorously tested, there's still 50,000 errors in that operating system. So this is why you get those patch Tuesdays. This is why Windows is constantly updating, and all operating systems are. They're constantly updating, constantly patching, constantly see a vulnerability out that nobody knew about. That's because there's 50,000 things in Windows 11 that could be a vulnerability. And we're moving towards where AI is going to start writing all this code, and with much less mistakes. Humans, absolutely. Average error rate across the board for writing programs is about 15 to 50 errors per 1,000 lines of code. And all this new code on the right is this CrowdStrike thing happening, right? This is hot on everybody's mind this last week. That was a human error, obviously, right? They didn't, there's some code that wasn't maybe tested properly, and some errors written in the code. And we saw the cascade of outages or cascade of issues with that. So these are things that where AI can really help and a hugely benefit to mankind. So learning, decision-making capabilities. So I gave a kind of a little snip of what I call pseudocode, what code kind of might look like for coffee. So if I took a traditional computer and I wanted to keep my coffee cup between 140 and 150 degrees, I might write a snip of code that looks like this. If temperature is less than 140, then turn on hot plate. Else, if its temperature is greater than or equal to 150, then turn off hot plate. But, that's what I would write, is in typical. AI, on the other hand, kind of learns, and this is some prototypes of on the bottom right. These guys are prototypes of baristas in different scenarios. I don't know if this is necessarily Starbucks, but and then a fully non-human automated coffee shop on the right. But they learn. So before these machines go out of the field, the big thing you understand is they are trained with large data sets. So the creators of this arm to do a single task, and that is make coffee, has spent a ton of money and a whole lot of training data to train this device to make this coffee. But they don't necessarily write the code per se. There's code written, obviously, but they leverage the AI kind of foundational infrastructure that's already been written to train these devices. So like I got the example, imagine walking into Starbucks, having an AI barista recognize you, facial recognition, pattern recognition, and ask you if you want your usual and prepare your coffee you're liking, right? Simple enough. That's going to be a really neat thing. But flexibility. Traditional computers are not flexible. So let's say I decided I want my coffee, and I wrote this code, and I decided I want my coffee at 160 degrees. Well, that's a code change in the previous code snippet I gave you. So I need to reprogram it. With AI, all I would say is, hey, AI barista, I want it traditional, but I want it from 160 from now on. That change would be adjusted on the fly without reprogramming. They learned that new data from me. So AI, that's the big thing. AI learns. Traditional computers do not learn, right? They don't. They have to have that human input. And this is kind of the graph of that, the pattern recognition and how this works. So pattern recognition, speech, who you are, for the surroundings and those kind of things. Traditional computers incredibly challenging to recognize patterns. And I'm definitely not getting into the code of what that used to look like, but it was not, it was not easy at all to write. And the bottom kind of shows the way what we used to call machine learning, or what is still called machine learning, You have input there of a car, and you have feature extraction that a programmer writes, and the programmer might write this is a car. This car has 4 wheels. It is this length. It is this height. It is this color. It is this windows. Those sort of things. The human programmer right there is programming those aspects about the car, so that now the new code that's been written can understand what a car looks like and maybe understand what a car looks like in the future. This is not reliable at all. It's for this kind of an input. What is the difference? And we're talking about AI is what's called deep learning. The input, and there's lots of inputs. There would be millions of cars probably fed without a person inputting those. In the top graphic here would be input to this deep learning, and the car would be recognized as a car without specifying the characteristics of this car specifically by a programmer. And then one on the right is kind of a graphical depiction of how this actually works. And in AI, all these different pieces and components, millions and millions and millions maybe of dots of things that are a car are gathered, and those are classified in different categories. These categories or clusters of data are then made into larger clusters of data, like a large brain or a large thinking thing, to understand and reason. This is a car, and maybe the car is different than a pickup. The pickup is different than a semi truck. Is different than a motorcycle. In the traditional model, you would have to input those things separately, right? To specify a motorcycle versus a semi truck versus a car. With deep learning, it would understand these things through all these bits of data and then classify and relate those vehicles. All these things are things that people drive or ride on, but in the top model, machine learning necessarily does not know that. In the bottom, the AI infrastructure would understand that information based on its training. Okay, this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest deal, in my opinion, pattern recognition with AI. This is the huge one. So I'll pause there for a second. We've got any questions or any thoughts at the moment, or we keep on going?
I don't see anything, but I do have a question. Where does it pull all this learning from? From where does it pull the learning?
Yeah, so that's a great question. That is a great question, and one of a lot of morals and ethics, right? Because as the human trainer, let's say if I was in Nazi Germany back in the day and this technology was there, I could train the AI to think like a Nazi, which has actually happened, unfortunately, with when Microsoft put out some new some deep learning technologies to learn from people off of, I don't know if it was off of Reddit or off of something. This AI thing became very very chauvinistic, very prejudiced, and very not a good AI because it was trained that that's the way. So the inputs, that's a great question, Paul. The inputs are very controlled. So humans will input. ChatGPT didn't actually used to be on the internet and wasn't allowed for the first few years to be on the internet because it could dirty the learning of it. And this is how cyber attacks actually happen. If the cyber attackers can get to your AI, they can retrain it to ignore certain things that shouldn't be ignored. So the input is still by some human or some method of data, but it needs to be data in such a way that you want the AI to operate the way that the programmers, the way the developers want it to operate, and that's the subjective piece. Because there are AIs like ChatGPT, on the dark web where anything goes. The ChatGPT that we use, if you went and tried to ask ChatGPT to write me a vulnerability that can exploit, this Windows 11, write me something I can break into a company, she won't do it because those boundaries have been put up. But on the dark web, that's a different story. Anything goes. But yeah, that is a great question because it's still the input there has to be controlled and very specific for what you want that AI to learn. And if you kind of think of it, and it's not, but you kind of almost think of it as a child or something that knows nothing about the world. They're a blank slate, and all the information that you feed this is what it now it comes to recognize as truth and what it will regurgitate as truth. So if you train it to be evil, it will be evil. So you got to be careful.
Okay, we do have another question come in. So if there's misinformation, it really won't give good information, or from a troll's opinion, become part of the data it researches as an answer.
Correct. Yeah. So you want to. That's why ChatGPT wasn't on for a long time on the internet at all. It was closed off because we did not. The developers, rightly so, didn't want it to go out there and start learning a bunch of stuff from trolls and learning a bunch of things that weren't the proper thing. And I'm sure I don't know what all the code development on the back end has been done, but ChatGPT is now on the internet where you will actually, she'll actually go search sites, and you'll understand in a second why I call her a she. That's on my next slide, but yeah, you can to answer the question, you've got to be very careful, but the inputs must be controlled so you don't get the trolls, you don't get misinformation, you don't get the wrong answers out of it, which she does still give wrong answers on occasion, and I run into that quite a few times and questioned her. That's why you kind of still need to sit right beside a human that kind of knows what's going on. But that is a great question. The training is huge here. It is the key to it's actually the key to the success of where that AI is going to be useful or not useful. Absolutely.
So it goes out to all types of medium, and it just pulls information from around. But um, if it can't find anything, does it just make stuff up?
Sometimes it does. Yes, it does. I've had it run into that before, or it puts in information that it maybe somewhere in the AI it relates to. For example, I use a lot of obviously forensic software that requires a lot of specific commands at a command prompt or to extract data. And there's been several times that ChatGPT's flat out gave me completely the wrong answer. And the only reason I can think of is, well, maybe in that relational, back on this slide here, where this data has all been correlated together, that that she thought, well, if this tool works this way, that I'm asking it to answer me on, then the tool that he's asking about must work that way as well. And so I'll just give that answer. So it is interesting, though. It'll flat out give you the incorrect answer. Sometimes straight up. And I do say, I said, no, that's not correct. I tried that command, that did not work. And she'll basically say, oh, something about, oh, I'm sorry, let me do some more research. Let me try that command again. And sometimes I've actually straight up broke ChatGPT, where I haven't done it lately, but where I ask a whole bunch of different inputs at one time, and then you get an error screen that not available at this time, or there's been some kind of issue, and she basically, I don't say crash, but she basically just stops. That's happened many times. Yeah. But those are great questions. Anything else?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, so using AI in your everyday business. So you talk to AI, and I'm talking about ChatGPT. So I want to talk a little bit about that, because this is what you can use today, right now, in your day-to-day business. You absolutely need to be doing this. You conversate with it like you would conversate. It's natural language. You just talk to it like you would talk to any other person. And you used to say, hey, ChatGPT this, hey, ChatGPT that. If that feels weird, do like me. I named mine Susan. I'm in the spirit of Phil Hartman's character on Saturday Night Live, named Susan, and then lower left. So Susan is the name of my ChatGPT. And what I did was, hi, ChatGPT, from now on, can I call you Susan? And she says yes. So every time I ask a question now, it's just human nature, because I feel like I'm talking, you want to, it's not that I'm speaking to a human, is that I want to put my brain in the mindset. I'm not Googling, a one-word question for a search, right? Like we've all done, or I'm not putting a one or two word statement into Google to search. I am conversating with a human, with something that's more human-like that I can do a conversation with. So I usually open it up whenever I do a chat and said, hey, Susan, can you write me a script that does this? It just feels more natural. And it puts my brain into the mindset of, okay, how would I, if I was going to ask a architect or a code developer or some expert in the, if I was going to ask some expert in the field to do this and conversate with them like a human, how would I address them? And it just felt weird for me to always say, hey, ChatGPT, do this. Hey, ChatGPT, do that. So that was one of my favorite characters back. That kind of ages me a little bit, maybe. But that was one of my favorite characters. Phil Hartman on Saturday Night Live. I loved him. So he had this character named Susan. So that's why ChatGPT is Susan for me. um, in your everyday business. So um, writing presentations, this presentation, I did a lot of research using ChatGPT because what more expert on ChatGPT than ChatGPT or on AI than AI. But did a lot of research with it on this presentation. You know, they're not going to write or, you know, ChatGPT is not going to write you a complete presentation that you can just go out and give somebody. They're going to write you typically an outline. They're going to ask answer some specific questions and give some specific examples of those kind of things, like an expert, right? And that's the way I think of it, as I'm talking to an expert. If this question that I'm asking right now, I'm talking to an expert in the field, because typically AI is. So if I'm writing, say, shell scripts, I'm going to show you that in a minute. What a shell script is: a command script to do various things. I use it to rearrange spreadsheets and rearrange log files and that sort of thing. I'm talking to an expert that knows how to do this very, very well. So I'm going to address them that way. But you're not going to say, you know, hey, ChatGPT, in my business, hey, ChatGPT, here's all the log files that I found on the server. Can you go in here and tell me how this breach happened and what happened in this case and how the people got in and what information was stolen? No, 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 no. It doesn't work that way. You need to ask it specific questions. You're asking individual experts. And that's the way that's the way ChatGPT works, and will work for the foreseeable future. But you can go say things like, and we've done this, hey, ChatGPT, we have cattle out here. I live on a little farm. If some of you may not know me out here, I've got a few cattle, and we had a bull that we needed to write a lease for, just to somebody, so that we'd help them with an ag exemption. And actually, my wife did this. Said, hey, I don't think she calls her Susan. I don't know what she calls her. Probably nothing. But hey, in my case, I'll say, hey, Susan, I've got a bull that a individual's wanting to lease for me. I need to write like a $1 lease agreement that would be, you know, acceptable by the county in case they get, you know, dinged on ag exemption. And within a couple of seconds, it wrote it. Easy. So that sort of thing. So you think about those kind of contracts, human resources, financial, real estate, all of those things. Analyzing marketing data inputs. You can take a large spreadsheet of data, and you can ask ChatGPT, and this does work. You can, you know, let's say you've got a 10,000 row spreadsheet. You can paste that into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, hey, will you analyze this? And the fields I'm most interested in are, you know, XYZ fields. I want to determine, you know, what the average graph is, and, you know, what the probability is of XYZ happening. She will write, she will output stuff like that for you, very simply. And that's what she's really good at. Legal research and draft writing. I do that myself, even though I'm not legal, but I do that, you know, a lot. You know, asking about, you know, different things. I've had a big problem, and I think all of us had lately with spam calls, is constantly. And there was one company constantly spamming me, just calling me. So I said, hey, ChatGPT, can you write me a cease and desist letter that I can send to this company that won't stop calling me? And can you reference, please, the legal doctrines from the Public Utilities Commission that would show recourse if they don't stop? And popped it out, mailed it certified letter, and with that particular company, those calls stopped. So that's the kind of thing. So that's where I've used it before. It wasn't a legal document. Was it legally binding? No. But was it something that got their attention? Yeah, they stopped calling me. But those are the kind of things that you can use and you should use daily. And I say this, do this today, please. Go to chatgpt.com, and I'm going to show you pricing and plans on it here in a second, kind of the way it works. But outside of ChatGPT with customer service, you've got chat bots, website, Facebook, Instagram. I think we automatically on our farming Facebook have a AI chat bot that if somebody asks a question, it basically, the chat bot will automatically answer back and says, hey, thank you for your contacting us. We usually get back to you within 2 or 3 hours. That's actually AI working in the background. And AI has learned how long before my wife responds, because she's in charge of the Singleton Farms Facebook, how long does she actually take before responding to a request that comes through us on Facebook? That's AI driven. And AI will say it's usually 4 hours, it's usually 8 hours, usually 1 hour, whatever. That's all automatic. So that's pretty cool on Facebook and those kind of sites. You just get that built in, and it can be part of your business. The right is something about a medical, and I want to talk a little bit about this here. In medical, this is huge, and obviously there's risks with personal data and those sort of things. But if you've got a AI type engine that has knowledge of you and your patterns of disease, your patterns of illnesses, your family's patterns of illnesses, your relative, all of those things, and it can take and relate and sort all those things together. It can, and this will be happening at some point, make predictions about things that you should be aware of in your medical. Here recently, where this has been, very impactful to me, a couple months ago, I ruptured my Achilles tendon. I went to a place called the Carroll Clinic here in Dallas to get it operated on. I set up an account, and it's been amazing. All their systems are connected. Usually when you go to the doctor, you sit around and you wait, and somebody comes and gets you, and you gotta call these other things. You gotta call the pharmacy. You gotta call the rehab people. You gotta do all of these things manually. The Carroll Clinic has leveraged, I'm sure lots of it are AI, but it's all automated. I get a text message a few days before my appointment. It says check in. I walk in. I don't talk to a person. There's a couple of little check-in kiosks. I punch in my information. It says please wait. I don't wait more than 2 or 3 minutes. Somebody comes and gets me. They take me back. The doctor's already seen all my records. The doctor's already seen all my information. Knows what I've checked in. Knows who I've not checked in with. Those sort of things. Check out, paper out. And by the time I was in the car driving home, the prescription had already been filled, and was ready for pickup. And the folks that are going to be doing my rehab had already called and requested, when I wanted a rehab appointment, and I didn't have to do anything. I mean, it was amazing. It just really amazed me. What usually, walking through this medical community and really navigating the medical, red tape and hurdles has been, kind of crappy, right, for a lot of years. And with this whole process, that specifically, Carroll Clinic, can't give them enough kudos. Don't know what all tools they're using, but it was a pleasure. I mean, and you think about what you're freed up to. I'm not worried about, okay, well, crap, I got to call this prescription in. Well, crap, I've got to set up this rehab. When is my appointment? I've got to talk to this. I got to talk to that. It's all automated. I get text messages. I don't have to remember anything. So I get to focus on my healing, right? My brain's not thinking about all these other noise over here that you have to deal with, because that's all been taken by, that's all those things have been taken over and addressed by the compute system, by the automation of this medical facility and the AI. So I don't worry about any of that stuff anymore. I'm worried about my healing, and the doctors actually have able to have a little bit better, longer conversation with me, because we're not talking about all these little nuances of getting through the medical community that you normally have to deal with when you're dealing with the medical community. None of that stuff was going on. It was all about the healing, how I'm doing, and how do I get better. It was truly amazing to me, that experience that I've just went through, and that was leveraging AI. I have no doubt. But you can see learning how eventually we're going to greatly benefit humanity and life, right? when AI can truly understand and predict, things that you need to watch out for as your individual human. Individual medicine, that's a term that people started really throwing around. It's individualized medicine. That is becoming real, where broad answers aren't given across the whole community of people because you really can't understand or address individual human needs. And we couldn't with traditional compute. It wasn't possible. With this new world, this is something majorly beneficial to humanity that AI is going to bring is longevity, creativeness, and health in the long term, healthier lives. This is becoming real, and is real. Okay, ChatGPT. You need to use this today. Everybody that's on the call, use this today. So there's 4 different versions. There's the free and no cost. I pay for the ChatGPT Plus. It's about $20 a month, and it comes with the advanced ChatGPT that has quicker response time and a lot more, I guess, data that they've trained it on. It just seems to give more answers, a little bit better answers. There's Team. If you're a business and you want to, and this is really cool. If you have a small business, I think you can pay $25 or $30 per user per month in your team. And now you get a dashboard where you all can collaborate together on things. It's really cool. I've seen it in action once or twice with companies, but they really start leveraging. And you think about the advantage that gives you as a small business over others that don't do this technology. You think about your real estate agent, and all your real estate agents in your office are all collaborating on a ChatGPT team to discuss things that they see with customers and that they're seeing, and ask ChatGPT the trends and all these things, get all this instant information and shared with the team immediately. That's something that I think specifically, I'm thinking real estate and law firms, those kind of small businesses would be majorly beneficial to them right now. ChatGPT Enterprise. So let me talk about this a little bit. So there's some issues with ChatGPT that you need to be aware of. With the free version and my version, I use ChatGPT Plus. Whatever you type in becomes public knowledge. Now, people can't go search, what did Andy search for, right? And they can't do that. But what they can do, and what has happened, are two things, and I'll touch on them again here in a little bit. Those are, so you put in information that you may have that's your private information. What is consumed by ChatGPT Plus and free version ChatGPT, what's consumed is now public. And here's an example. A Samsung employee a few years ago used ChatGPT to ask ChatGPT, hey, can you evaluate this code I wrote for these new chips and provide me feedback on this code to see, let me know if I made any errors. Well, guess what? Samsung just had a breach. Their information just breached, because that now became public knowledge and public information that ChatGPT knew about, that other folks could ask about. Say, ChatGPT, do you know anything about this new chip Samsung's coming out about? Oh yes, here's the code for it. Blah 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 blah. That happened. So whenever I post things in, another thing that happened, and not with me, but with another cybersecurity firm, an incident responder, they had posted in a customer's breach report and did not remove the customer's name, did not anonymize the document. So now it became public information that XYZ company was breached, because what they pasted the document in was to get ChatGPT to proofread it and to enhance it and make it sound more professional. That's what the goal of this individual was that did this as a cybersecurity company. Not really thinking that maybe I should remove the specific company name before I do that. So unfortunately, that breach report became a queryable learned item by the public free ChatGPT. So it was a breach again. ChatGPT Enterprise does not. So this is why this is so expensive. Basically, it's a ChatGPT that's tailored for you, specific for your business. That nothing becomes part of its public learning, right? So nothing becomes part of its public record. It's pretty expensive, right? 150 user minimum, 12-month contract, $60 per user, but there's a lot of compute storage and compute power kind of dedicated to you that's sectioned off, that's not going to be leaking your information to the public. But big companies like Samsung, Apple, Microsoft, those types of companies certainly don't use ChatGPT. they use their own platform that they built. Now, incredibly expensive. These platforms that can do this cost millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, require lots of NVIDIA cards and those sort of things to process information quickly. So if you look at ChatGPT Enterprise, and this is truly something that you want to use and leverage for your business to get a strategic advantage for stuff that is secret within your business, it would be a bargain for you. Because what you're able to do is subscribe to it. You can ask questions, you can post proprietary documents, and then you could actually, if you're through with it or want to be sure, you can ask ChatGPT to, or delete that from a dashboard, delete all those things that you've requested. But it never becomes part of the overall ChatGPT learned data, where the first two bullets are ChatGPT. I wouldn't trust it, but I would want to find a little bit more. I think probably part of the information on the third bullet there becomes part of ChatGPT's learned information, if you were to subscribe to that. But I know ChatGPT Enterprise is not. It doesn't become part of that learned. But it's, as you use this tool, keep in mind that what you type in, if it's proprietary or needs to be secret to a business, private, then it is not private anymore. It becomes part of the public learned information out there. Is it easily findable? Probably not. Can you ask ChatGPT, tell me every query that Andy Singleton, who works at CyberTend, has chatted? No, you can't do that kind of thing. But you can ask about breaches and those kind of things. If you have any, do you have any knowledge of a Samsung breach? Do you have any knowledge of XYZ breach? Then yeah, that becomes part of its learned information. So you need to be careful on that. But this is the tool I want you guys, everybody on this call, to go use today. Ask it a question you've always wanted to ask, even if something that you think it couldn't answer. Just go ask it, see what it tells you, and it's free. I'll provide the website at the end, so please go do it. Any questions or thoughts on that? Yeah.
Well, just want to mention, I went to ChatGPT and I asked, some political questions, what are the odds of this person winning an election over another person? And it couldn't answer me. It gave me a lot of what ifs, if this person took this attack versus another attack, maybe they would have a better chance, but it couldn't give me any data at all. But it did mention that the reason it couldn't give data is because there are really no polls out there yet. So I'm guessing that it would go out and it would search for the polls, the Reuters, all of them, and then combine all of that with an answer.
Yep. ChatGPT does now. I actually use ChatGPT Plus I don't do Google searches anymore at all. I use ChatGPT Plus. Now she'll go and Susan will go search those things for me, and it'll say searching website, searching this, searching routers, searching this, searching that, and come back and give me a more comprehensive answer. But once you start using ChatGPT, you won't ever go back to Googling anything, because we always want more than just what is the one word I'm searching for. For example, I've got a tractor out here, Kubota tires in Google. What I'd rather type is, hey, Susan, I've got a XYZ type Kubota tractor. I use on the farm. I use it for these activities. What kind of tires would you recommend I put onto this thing, and where can I buy them?
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that in Google, right? That doesn't work.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, we have had a question come in, and Brett is asking, is there a way to make a personal AI with a personality that you can program? Like Susan, does Susan have her own personality? Or are we there yet? Like you named yours, such as responding to another cybersecurity expert with a particular background or training, or maybe even a pleasant disability. Hey, Brett, do you want to unmute yourself and ask this question? Can you
Yeah.
unmute yourself? Okay, there we go.
Yeah. So kind of the question is around, can you kind of more personalize Chat GPT? I, I
I
haven't
have
ever
done.
tried. I, I think you probably could. You could
Okay.
tell, yeah, go ahead.
No, Andy, thank you so much. Great information as always. And yeah, no, I'm just curious as if, are we there yet to where we can actually program a personal assistant? For example, let's say I used you as the example in my attempt. You want to speak to another cybersecurity specialist or something, and you want to give them a personality that's kind of something that combines with yours, but will challenge you on certain things too, so that your brain is also working in tangent with it and in conjunction with it to say solve problems. For example, another
Mhm.
engineer that's building a bridge, and it's like, well, here's the plans I'm looking at, and this other engineer that's designed as an AI, and you've given him a background that's a little different than yours with training from, I don't know, a different engineering school, and you say, oh wow, well, this is where it's drawing its information to make that bridge a better bridge. So I don't know, I'm just
Yep.
asking.
Yeah, I think so. I think probably so because, and here's why I say that. I haven't ever done it myself and tried to, but what I have done is basically you can preload ChatGPT with some background on you. What I've wrote a background on me is I'm a information security specialist. I specialize in forensic investigations. I've got these certifications, so my knowledge is this. And I always ask, what's your opinion on this? But I think more to your thing on engineering. Um, there was a post I read it. It's been a few months ago, but it was some engineers that were doing jet engine design, and what they did was ask their AI engine, hey, here is current jet designs that we know of that have been on the market that we've used. Is there a better design? And it looks alien. It looks there's an alien engine that was this thing designed. Would it work or not? I don't know, but there's lots of comments about it because it was the opinion of that AI engine or that AI platform that was being used that this jet engine would work markedly better than what we've developed right now. So I think we're probably just right on the edge of something like that. That's a great question. I think we're right on the edge of something like that where you can um, get it to say, look at a bridge design and say, hey, we've always designed these bridges in arches, or we've always done these engines, internal combustion, and they look like this with pistons and cylinders. Yeah, and you got that information. But can you give me a recommendation or suggestion on what might be a better design? Um, I think we're just starting that process, and I wish I had that jet. If you might Google at some point, AI engine designs new jet engine. That was a fascinating article to me because of the things you just said. It was like,
Okay,
wow, that's
thank you.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I know that there's another company out called Personal AI that's just come out not too long ago, and but they're focused more on adapting to your personality, your health records, your ability to speak, to be a personal assistant that will respond in your place. That scares me.
Yeah.
But I was wondering if you could program it to be somebody else to chat with rather than it taking
Yeah.
over who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Another expert, like you're sitting across from an expert that can challenge you. Yes. Yeah. I think that's what that jet engine was all about, which was fascinating, absolutely fascinating to me when I read that article a while back. Um, So let me show you how this is. So this is a specific example I used not too long back, and it's a little technical here, but I want to show you the question that I asked. So I have to look at in my business a lot of log files, right? And in this particular case, I was looking at a website breach, and there was these Apache logs. I needed to search through them and put them in the right format, in which I wanted them in a basic Excel format. And so here's what I said. Susan, can you write me a shell script to extract Apache Web Server error logs formats? I want to place the time and the date in the first column and set it to UTC-0. I also want to be prompted for the input file name because it's different. I want to be prompted for the output directory, and I want in the output file to be named the original file name, but with a dash out so I know that it's successfully outputted. At the end, can you write me and I want to be able to specify a search pattern if I want to. Can you write me a program or a script to do this? And guess what? Here's what she wrote. You know how many days it would take me to write something like this, to do this? Now, She didn't get this right the first time. I had to massage and adjust what she gave me, but I got the right format that I wanted in the end. And it was just over a little bit of time of saying, okay, well, the date wasn't quite right, or the time wasn't quite right, or I wanted this header in there. But this is not a simple thing to write, obviously, if you look at the code here. But this is what she wrote, and I didn't write it. I did a few edits. She even wrote the comments, which is awesome in it, and put in the comments that I had asked her to. There's my about opinion, the dash out at out.csv. 100%. So I wanted to give this example of something, and this is how I use it every day. Stuff like this every day, 100%. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit, and we'll go through this. So I want to talk about cyber attacks, and I got another short video for you. So deep fakes are no joke, and in a couple of slides, I'm going to talk to you about a company that's just hot off the press from yesterday that a buddy informed me of a deep fake that was actually a North Korean state-sponsored person got a job using a deep fake and a stolen identity in the US to get a job as a programmer for this business. And I'll show you that in a moment. So deep fakes, phishing, that kind of thing is no joke now. It's no longer this, I'm a, whatever called a Middle Eastern prince with a lot of money. I need to move it to your account. No, these are much more sophisticated. Automated social engineering and reconnaissance. A lot of reconnaissance with AI. So like I told you before, AI, the good guys like us have it on our side, ChatGPT and those kind of things. The bad guys have it on the dark web and those sort of things, and then can heavily research a target now. Heavily research a target and pull them up. So this is a lot of how they're used in cyber attacks. So I'm going to show this video, and I think this is given a second to load again. And all of these, I got these links for all this stuff. And again, this is posted, this is recorded. If you want a copy of this presentation, not a problem. Please, I don't have anything proprietary here. Please grab it and come on, load thing. Yes, there we go. Do y'all hear that? Yeah. Yep. Y'all don't hear that?
No.
Oh, not hearing it? Okay. Okay. I thought it'd be playing. Okay. Well, basically, what this is Obama. You can read the text there. It really doesn't matter what he's saying, but Obama was replicated. This is not Obama speaking right now. They use some of the sample data to grab what he sounds like. And so it's 14 hours just what to talk to train. And so this gentleman did some of this work, and they're in a green room, like you think a studio, and they're able to speak and have the person that they're doing a deep fake of have those same expressions, have those same head nods. Okay, so I apologize. I thought the audio would show up on that, but basically, we've all seen those deep fakes out there of Obama. That's pretty common out there. In political season, I think there's been some statistics and knowledge about political elections in the less developed countries being heavily swayed by deep fakes. This is one I want to talk about. This is hot off the press yesterday. This is a deep fake to a company called KnowBe4. KnowBe4, they're a cybersecurity company that is pretty well known by folks out there. So they had a job opening for a programmer. So they went through the interview, looked like the person. If you look at these two pictures right here, The one on the left is the real person. The one on the right is the one that looked like a deep fake. Stole this person's identity, got enough pictures to train it, had an interview with the company before, and got hired. If you go read the full article, it's here, and I've got it at the end of the document. And this just happened. This just came out yesterday. The laptop was sent to a U.S.-based apartment, and they call it kind of a drop apartment, where that laptop was set up for remote access by this threat actor from North Korea. When there was data or some applications put on there for remote access and VPNs and some other what we would consider, maybe malware by the company, or what was considered malware by the company, it raised several red flags, and they caught it, and were able to intercept any data loss or anything going on like this that happened. So this is just brand new. And so if you're a large company, even if you're not, if you're looking at videos on the web, or you're looking at videos on social media, you got to be very careful, because it is so hard. It's almost impossible for a human to differentiate. And like that last video says, code and programs have to be written to understand if that is a deep fake or not. That's really the only way this is going to work, because they've gotten so good. So this was an actual hire that happened. The bottom two boxes are talking about AI bots. And these came up in my LinkedIn here recently from two different people, right? Obviously bots. And I'm sure several of you have got this before too. We want to profile you in Who's Who of America. I'm not picking on Who's Who. That they're probably, I'm sure they're legitimate. Don't know much about them, but I just thought it's interesting that these two from two different supposed people, these two people aren't real, I'm sure, that are here, right? Exact same wording, and this isn't all the wording, exact same wording showed up in my LinkedIn, exact same type for type. So you got to be careful of those types of things too, because if it was just a one-time shot or something, things get more interesting and more learned about you. This is how phishing happens. They become very targeted and can say things personal about you that you wouldn't think that anybody else maybe would know, or wasn't public information. And so then you become to trust. That's a risk as well that you got to be aware of, because AI is being used in some really evil ways. Okay, but that's something to go look up. This is the first time I've heard of something like this happening with a deep fake. Yeah, so this is, I know I'll speed up a little bit, got to run out of time, or just want to make sure we got any questions. So this is a breach I worked here recently, and AI, in this case, the company didn't have AI involved, but this is something perfect for AI, right? Anomaly detection, intrusion detection, predictive analytics, continual risk assessment, vulnerability patch management. Those are things that are great for AI. Like I say, one of my big customers, global pharmaceutical, has a AI engine that constantly tries to attack them all the time, 24/7. And when it finds a vulnerability, it notifies, and I'm sure based on the vulnerability, it could be allowed to go ahead and patch. But those are the things that are tools that are being employed now to protect against AI-driven cyber threats, is AI-driven cybersecurity, to protect against them. So now you got the AI fighting AI, right? You get kind of a sense out there. But this is happening. So the graph here, the reason for the graph is, imagine if the company had some sort of AI engine, or some kind of engine to understand normalization of behavior. This company was breached on the 21st, right? So if you look at the graph, this is history of alarms and events that happened over time for the company, and then all of a sudden there's this big spike on the 21st. Well, what does that mean? What's going on? In red, in the world of Windows, is a security event log in this graph. Reds are things that the machine itself thinks may be a security, or need to be logged in the security event log, as an example. Well, you don't see any red at all, no security event log red events the whole time of this graph, and I didn't go back a long ways, but then all of a sudden you see a ton on this day. This would have been perfect for AI. And actually, to implement AI to do something like this is pretty simple, honestly. It just, takes a little bit of time by the IT to get it set up. But to analyze just your event logs that are always being logged on your server, look at them somehow and look at them with AI. You don't have to have a person look at them all the time, because if this would have been caught on the 21st, it wouldn't have been a full-on breach that had to be recovered from. But it could have been caught on the 21st if we would have just had some kind of normalization of, and I'm sure some of this might have been reconnaissance over time, possibly, because you can look at in AI, it would look at a long history of data and understand those anomalies. So that's a pretty big deal. And that can be done very easily in businesses now, very, very easily, honestly.
So did you write a program to do something like this, or?
So I use tools. So I have in my tool set, I've got tools that will graph out history over time, event logs, and what they relate to, and then give me a graph on it, so that I can kind of frame up. I do this as part of framing up. Okay, the first question always is, whenever there's a breach, is when did this happen? How did this happen?
Mhm.
Okay. When did it begin? And so this helps me answer that question real quickly. This is an AI tool that I'm using to do this. This is basically a parsing tool,
Mhm.
but I can real quickly gather this information and say, okay, well, obviously let's start taking a look at the 21st in this case, because that's when we've got this rise in events. And sure enough, that's where I found the compromised login had happened, and the way it came in, the way it happened, the way the threat actors came in, where they came from, and what they were after, based on this initial let's just run this report and see when we think this might have happened. It helps answer that question to the manager, to leadership. That's one of my bigger priorities when I do a incident response. Yeah.
If you're writing like a command, for lack of a better term, in AI to analyze this data, can you save that analysis and maybe name it Andy's program or something like that, and tell AI next time it comes up, tell AI, analyze this using Andy's program?
So I've tried that a little bit. It hasn't been very successful for me, and I haven't tried lately. So I've typed in, because it kind of keeps a history of your commands or your requests on the left-hand side in the bar of your searches.
Mhm.
And I've tried to say, Susan, do you remember when we talked about this and this and this? Can you please, use this and analyze it? And she didn't have any idea what I was talking about.
Okay.
So I don't know, unless maybe there's been some updates. I haven't tried it lately. But I save these, whenever I end up writing these things, or whenever Susan ended up writing these things for me, I do save them off to my local machine,
Mhm.
and I'll just paste them back in sometimes if I want to do the same analysis. But I did try that. That's a good question. I did actually try that. It's been a while back, a few months ago, and she didn't recall what I was talking about.
Okay.
So, which is interesting. It's definitely not perfect, but
It's better than it was.
oh yeah. Oh no. It's huge. We're only at the very beginning of things that are going to really be exciting and wonderful for humanity. Honestly, wonderful for humanity. And again, I would argue, will these machines ever become sentient and think for themselves and have a soul? I don't think so. I doubt it. They're always going to be a tool. It's just compute. We're still talking compute. It's just better knowledge. So when I talk about AI, I'm not comparing AI to humans. I'm comparing AI to traditional way we used to use computers. Is what I'm comparing it to. So ethical considerations, bias, and fairness. So you can train these things to do, like I talked about, the troll bot that Apple had to shut, or not Apple, I think it was Microsoft had to shut down because it became very prejudiced and biased because the trolls were training it in a public space. There was a lawsuit a while back that I understood that an employee was not selected because AI passed over their resume because of evident drug use. And I'm not sure exactly, I don't know the full story how this employee came to know this, or public information or whatever, but the employee's birthday was on April 20th, 420. So that bot had been trained that anything that comes up with 420 has to do with marijuana use, right? We kind of know that term. So the record showed that the AI bot had passed over this person's resume because of drug use. incorrectly identified, right? 420 is your birthday. Samsung breach, the privacy concern. So always, I do get AI to proofread almost everything that I do if it's going to be for a professional document, especially certain sections of breach reports. I always anonymize. I put company code. So rather than putting in the real company name that I'm doing the breach report for, I put in company code. Very easy. Those, you know, if you use Word or something, you know, search and replace. I use that as my kind of a work document to paste in, ask AI to kind of make this more professional. I do that all the time, and then I also use AI a lot to take this very technical thing that's happened with, say, event logs and put it into layman's terms, because most of the time I'm dealing with legal. I'm not dealing with IT in the business, right? If there's a breach or an incident response or a full-on compromise, I'm typically at that point dealing with CEOs, with legal, with HR in some cases. They don't know all this techno speech. So what I do a lot of times is I'll take my technical speech document and I'll throw it into AI and say, hey, can you write this in layman's terms that somebody that's not in IT and not technical could understand, and she'll rewrite it for me in that manner. I use that all the time. In AI, I like this. I know all the answers to questions. Sometimes I don't understand. I don't understand much. I don't know if that was a real statement from Albert Einstein. It might have been, but it kind of sums up what AI does. So she will answer you, even if she doesn't really understand maybe fully what you're asking. So there's been lots of times she's given me the wrong answer. Is she lying? Yeah, probably not. She's probably just relating that to something else that maybe was valid for something else that she had formed a connection through a dotted connection to. Well, if it must be work in Word, it also must work in Excel, you know, kind of maybe as an example because of the tools I use, which was incorrect. So just be conscious of that, but definitely don't put anything proprietary in the public ChatGPT forum. Future trends, there's a lot of things that are coming up that are important that are going to be in the AI space. It's think of context-aware security, understanding the risks of the actual business that you're in, say a trucking business. What's my biggest risk as a manufacturer, as a pharmaceutical manufacturer, as a law firm, as a university? What are the biggest threats out there that are specific to me? And that's becoming real. Behavioral biometrics. This one's about understanding things like if you think at a bank or login banks, some of the banks already use this. My typing pattern is typically the same. You know, if you were to look at the way I type, I'm a very good typer and fast. Then I'm going to be pretty consistent. If somebody tries to log in as me that doesn't know how to type and is hunting and pecking, then behavioral biometrics will pick that up and say, oh, that's not Andy, that's somebody else, or Andy doesn't type like that, or Andy doesn't move his mouse like that. Banks are already using some of this technology to help, and that's a good thing. It's a very good thing. Yeah. So typing speed is kind of a neat thing, and typing cadence is becoming a pretty good behavioral biometrics. Automated cyber defense, self-healing systems. You talk about the ability for AI to understand. If you think about it in respect of, I use Salesforce, I use Office 365, I use a shared drive over here, and I have these people logging in. If AI was smart enough to say, okay, there's something happening now, I see a threat actor going across the network and hitting, a shared drive, I need to shut down access to this user's login. I need to shut access to Salesforce by this individual as well. Those are the kind of things that are coming. They're not here yet, but those are the kind of things that are absolutely coming, where there'll be more automation and context-aware security. I'm excited about collaboration and shared threat intelligence. It is federating all this information together. If you think about what if everybody in the country that was breached with a certain type of breach got together and were able to somehow share all that information about the tactics and techniques from the threat actors that were coming in, and that was shared and pushed out and available to all the AIs in a business, that would make it easy to protect against that particular threat. So we will win. The good guys are going to win eventually, but there's got to be, this federated learning is really exciting to me, honestly, really, really exciting to me, because that is where you can, or AI will begin to understand, your trucking. There was 20 other trucking businesses breached this way, and this is how it happened. This is where it came from. Oh, that's starting to happen right now, so that we need to stop that from happening. That's going to be really cool. It's crowdsourced security, in other words. So that is neat. That's coming. And this is my last slide here, and I just want to kind of a funny. The diagram on the right is kind of funny. I said, hey, can you write me some steps, some practical steps, an image that gives me practical steps to protect against AI-based threats? And she wrote me the right thing on the right. I just wanted to put that up to kind of show that she's not perfect yet. Some of the words don't even make sense, and some of them aren't even words. But that's a picture. She'll draw you pictures right now, and a lot of people have seen that. She's not super good at that kind of thing, because that's more abstract creative thinking. That's more of a human trait. So again, AI doesn't have abstract emotional creative thinking like you would think a human does. But the practical steps that I always go through, and you've heard them in the other seminars I've had, the Australian Essential 8, I've got a link for it in the bottom of this. Implement that. It talks about multi-factor authentication. You need to protect your cell phone SIM nowadays, and because that's becoming a target. Update and patch, and understand business risk. Establish an incident response plan, a business continuity plan. So something's going to happen to your business with everything that's going on out there. And execute a business continuity plan. For example, if you're a larger business, you might want to, get a contract with a hotel. So the CEO, the CFO, the CTO, and CIO, and some other leadership maybe have a place that can go meet quickly if your network's completely unavailable. Understand if you are, say, a logistics company, can your truck still roll if a platform's down, right? How does that happen? So how do we continue business? Because you need to be able to take an outage. You need to be able to take, like the CrowdStrike thing, something that happens, it's going to be bad, where you can't access certain systems you're normally, but how do you get back in business very, very quickly so you don't go out of business? Obviously, the smaller the business you are, the bigger risk it is to you for having a disruption, because there's probably, Delta Airlines, and I don't know how many millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, billions of dollars they've lost, how many days they're out of business. But if you talk about most small businesses that don't have an IT staff, if something were to happen and you couldn't all of a sudden, access your cut sheets or things that you need to do business, you probably can't take more than a week or two of that. And if you got 100 employees to pay, it can be devastating, put you out of business. So one of the most critical things is, second from the bottom, establish a business continuity plan. And that could be as simple as set up alternate emails with, say, Proton is what I talk about. Set up communications with Signal. Get a hotel that you can get a room in, or a conference room in quickly for your C-level folks. Make sure they understand where to go. Make sure if your business relies on Salesforce or other things, how can we continue to do business if that were gone? And maybe that is we've dropped back to manual paperwork. Hospitals, that had to happen in some cases, right? Had to drop back to manual paperwork when they had incidents. But have those plans in place beforehand and understand, if I had to go back to the old days before we had all this computer crap, how would I save business? Because your computer crap can go south, right? So that's the BCP. But that's it, folks. I'm happy to answer questions and go back over anything. This is exciting era, exciting time for us humans to be able to harness the power of compute like this. And we will use them as tools, right? Not the other way around.
Well, if you have a question, just go ahead and unmute yourself, and we'll talk with Andy about it, or you can talk with Andy. And I have been waiting for this AI presentation. I have a lot better understanding, and I do not think that there will be a robot uprising started by the ATM machines any longer. So. But I was talking earlier about using AI to tally winners in a car show. and how we did it manually, and then we tried to improve it with a spreadsheet and macros, and now um, trying to create something even more automated. And I went to AI, said, write me a process. It wrote me a process. I read it. I can understand it. Then I ended up telling it to write me a program to actually transfer the QR code data to a Google Doc. And so that it will automatically tally the winners. And I can't wait to actually get to a point to try it. So it wrote the code and everything, just like what you showed earlier. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Yep. It's
Um,
very good at that.
we, I recommend AI in a lot of instances, but you have to understand the limitations and that it's going to come out like if you ask it to write a business plan, it's going to come out looking like an AI business plan. And so it's something to use as a starting point. And you go in and you personalize it, according to your business, your structure, everything having to do with that. But you can't just use it in a situation like that, using a business plan just as it comes out of the machine. But it is such a great tool whenever you can't think of where to start.
Yep. Yep. And you can actually give me some suggestions. I've done that. So that's a good point too. I said, give me some suggestions. When I was writing my webpage, you're so close. Sometimes you're so close to a company or a business, you can't see the forest for the trees. And so I said, hey, can you write me an outline of what, if I'm not maybe so technical, of what I should communicate to somebody on my website for what I do, in business.
Mhm.
And if you want to look at my webpage, it's a single page and it goes through all the steps in layman's terms, what we do in defer in digital forensics and response and how we seize the data. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. And I
Yeah.
hired a web developer to treat it up. But yeah, it's a good, like Paula says, it's a good starting point. It won't do everything, but it gives you ideas. It gives you
Uh-huh.
ideas because a lot of times you get stumped, especially if you, like I say, you can't see the forest for the trees. You're so close to something. It's like, I've got a brain block. Help me get past this. I'm
Yeah.
trying to do this. And you'll be like, oh, okay.
Wouldn't this tool have been wonderful in college? You're given an assignment going,
Yeah,
I have no idea where to start.
it would
And so
have.
you just,
Yeah. Yeah.
it would have been wonderful. Uh, okay, well, doesn't look like we have any additional questions, but let's see what we have coming up here.
Let me stop
And
sharing.
yeah, let me
There we
share.
go. I stopped sharing mine.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to point out to everybody, we have a busy schedule for the remainder of this year. So here's a list, as many as I could get on this page right here of our upcoming webinars. And you see it's still only through mid-August. You can go to our website and uh, register for these webinars. You can use that QR code at the top right-hand corner that will take you to our website where you can actually register for the webinars. But we've got some great stuff coming up. Andy has a couple of more cybersecurity Thursdays for us, and we've got cash flow Wednesdays. We've got some great information on how to work with the Texas Workforce Commission, like if there is a claim of unemployment or something. And QuickBooks, just a massive QuickBooks webinar series. So it's going to take you from how do I turn on my computer, or which software should I use, and take you all the way through working through your bank account. It'll be a great series. When you go to our website, you can also get contact information for us. You can schedule an appointment with an advisor. You can do that, request an appointment online. It's great. It comes right here, and our director makes sure that it goes to the right place, the right person to handle it. And there's some additional resources out there for small business owners. We are grant funded, and because of that, I would like to give a shout out to our benefactors. The Small Business Administration, the state of Texas, North Texas SBDC Regional Office, and North Central Texas College, our wonderful host. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next time. So have a great rest of your day, and we're going to end this webinar now. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.